All right, we're live.
Are we really?
We are really live.
Haha, all right. So common sense is not that common is my theme for today.
And with the backdrop of...
This is Cannon House Office Building, Longworth, and then Rayburn. So there's 3 Congressional House Office buildings. But let's talk about what we've got going on here in DC today. Today is the day after our bill left subcommittee, or left the full committee. So just so people know, 2 weeks ago we came out of this subcommittee. This week we came out of full committee. We've got to get it to the floor. We need to do this. So what I'm hoping to do is get people to start contacting, let's think about it. Who's the leader of the Congress? Who would be our person that decides what makes it on the floor?
Who would that be?
I'm guessing Nancy Pelosi.
That would be the person.
I'm just guessing that. So let's see if we can tweet out to Nancy Pelosi, hey, we need you to stop the nonsense about the squad. Do something that's going to save lives. This is what America really cares about. We want our representatives to do something that matters. Here's a smart one. Let's use common sense. Flame arresters, stop burning kids alive. Let's get schools ready and prepared. Let's teach the teachers. Let's make sure that people know these are preventable.
So, Margaret, if we can't get this to a vote now, when does it have to wait until?
September. Mid-September is when they come back.
And why is that?
Because Congress has their August recess, which I believe starts the 26th of July and goes to the first or second week of September.
I like recess.
Yeah.
Kids like recess. You know what they don't like?
Burning.
Yeah.
Alive.
Yeah.
On fire.
Mm-hmm.
Parents don't like it.
That seems like a common sense thing, doesn't it?
Burn bad. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And these are so preventable. Flame arresters, this is a teachable opportunity. We can teach people the proper way to use flammable liquids, and we can prevent these horrific burn injuries. Let's talk for a second about where all these injuries occur. Trey, you've got a lot of common sense. Where do you think these kinds of injuries are happening?
They're happening in situations like backyard campfires, the bonfires. They're happening in campgrounds. They're happening on work sites. They're happening to fire departments around the country. Are
You're flaming. Are you filming?
Beautiful. The sunflowers up here.
Those are awesome. I love those sunflowers.
Anywhere that these portable fuel containers are being used without flame arresters is a huge potential for the flame jetting.
Yes, but let's be specific. We were talking today. We've got to get people. It's not just the ones you can go to the store today. You can look. So stop, check, protect. Walk into the store. Open up the container, look inside of it, only use one that's got a flame arrestor.
And a flame arrestor is not a highly technical piece of equipment. It's not that interlocking nozzle that's on the newer fuel containers. It's simply a screen. It could be either mesh or just a perforated disc that's in the nozzle or right where the nozzle meets the container itself where it attaches, that simply stops a spark or a flame from traveling up the nozzle and into the fuel container.
Yes.
And even though it looks like it's just a filter in some cases, or people think that's for helping it pour more smoothly, that actually functions as a flame arrestor. There's easy demonstrations that you can find online that show people holding a lit match or a cigarette lighter up to these devices, and flame will not pass through them. It absolutely will stop the flame from getting through and into the container where it's going to pressurize and launch out the burning fuel.
Yes, let's think about that. They call it a flame arrestor. That means arrest, stop, right? If you want to stop crime, you arrest a criminal. You don't mitigate the crime. So there's mitigation, which is not as good as a flame arrestor. Anything that's based on a flame arrestor technology, safe, smart, it will stop the flame. And
Very simple device, and it works. It works.
It works. And let's talk about when a congressman who used to be IED bomb tech heard about this issue. And, I don't want you to believe me. I'll just quote a guy that walks up to bombs and does it for a living and knows how to dismantle them. When you take the flame arrestor off of a consumer product or any product that doesn't have it, it's a bomb.
Yeah.
It's a bomb.
Yeah,
it's a bomb.
There are certainly many documented cases of the flame jetting occurring with these containers, which is the most common occurrence. But also, especially with the new interlock devices, you can actually have a pressurization that causes the container itself to rupture. And then instead of the flame shooting in one direction, then everybody standing anywhere within the vicinity, the radius of that blast or that spread of fuel is going to get burned.
And it's exploding burning fuel. Burning liquid.
It's going to land on you, and it's going to continue to burn until it goes out, which is not a very easy thing to do.
So really, if you want to know the hard science here, it's simple. It's not that hard. It depends on what the energy level is of the fuel. Like a gasoline, pretty likely that could explode. The whole can will burst. Ethanols tend to be more the flame jetting.
Yes.
It's not.
And one of the issues that I'm starting to think about, more concern with people that are camping, people that are out in the wilderness using alternative containers to carry the fuel around. Some of these portable fuel container manufacturers for camping fuels and vehicle fuels to carry spare vehicle fuels have started adding flame arrestors themselves after they've had incidents with their own products. But there are still products out there that do not carry flame arrestors, and there are people out there, and I read about this online. I follow the camping and the sort of the off-road adventure vehicle community quite closely.
Outdoor life.
That people are using alternative containers to carry spare fuel around, spare camping fuel, spare vehicle fuel. You're definitely, if you're carrying it in an unapproved container that doesn't have a flame arrestor, and you have a flame jetting incident out in the middle of the wilderness, your response time from emergency services is going to be incredibly long, and this certainly is going to affect your potential outcome from the hospital if you make it there.
These fireballs, highly likely you'll end up with some, I want to say airway issues.
You're going to get inhalation burns, which is going to close off your airway, and then you have a very limited amount of time to get to an emergency room and have an airway placed to keep you breathing. If you're out in the middle of the wilderness and you're X number of miles away from pavement and you don't have cell signal, even if you do have cell signal, the amount of response time. I mean, I camp out in areas of the Midwest where it's not just that a helicopter has to come and get you; it's a helicopter has to come from quite a distance to come and get you, and then how exactly are they going to find you?
Yeah.
People on the ground still have to get you, move you to a landing zone to get you on the helicopter. These are really dangerous situations to begin with in a normal household setting. You take that situation out into the middle of the wilderness, camping, off-road adventuring, hiking, and use one of these containers for fuel, for cooking, or for your vehicle, or like a portable camp heater, and have one of these incidents occur, and you're definitely a long way away from help when you need it the most.
Let's be really clear. Trey's bringing some great points. This is why we really want to warn people. This is
Shout out to
teachable.
Brad Johnson and Holland Gregg. They're watching us this morning.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Also, let's get people tweeting Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi. Flame arrestors save lives. Nancy Pelosi. Not your turn to burn. Hashtag not your turn to burn. Nancy Pelosi. You know what? People here are starting to call me not your turn to burn. Great. Let's teach and warn. Let's warn people. Let's teach people. I want to not just say hey guys, here's the problem. Gas cans from more than 20 years ago are safe. Gas cans that you look for and purchase it specifically to get it today, also safe. What about the 2 decades where they weren't in there? What about all those ones? There's 80 million of those gas cans out there.
That's a
just
lot.
The gas cans. Now you and I are talking about things like all the ethanols, the I call them hybrid fuels.
Yeah.
There's the tool fuels. There's all sorts of other things. By the way, I love how you're moving that.
I'm getting the sunflowers in there.
Oh, how
It's a beautiful day in DC.
It's a beautiful day, and I love that sunflower. Those are happy.
Yeah.
Sunflowers are my happy flower. Let's get things tweeted. I need high schoolers to focus. I need youth to say, you know what, no more burns in school.
Those of you out there watching us on Facebook Live or watching this later, if you want to come to DC and see these sunflowers, they're right here at the Capital South Metro Station. While you're at it, you can swing on over to your congressperson's office, and you can have a little conversation with them about getting this bill pushed through and getting it onto the floor for a vote now and not in September.
Exactly. That's really what our goal is. Let's get this bill on the floor right now. It should be passed. Unanimous means there's no opposition.
It's going to pass, but we need it to pass as soon as possible.
Because the stats say 1 person a day is burned to death or dies from these injuries. 10 or 11 people are burned each day. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And they're preventable for a nickel. And there's no reason that we're just looking the other way and letting it slide through, other than the fact that there's a huge amount of risk out there and nobody wants you to know. Nobody wants to tell you, hey, be careful, this could happen to you. It's happened to those of us that have lived with it. And what's it like for you when you roll up on a scene and you're like, oh shit, another kid's been burned?
Rolling up on a burn victim is one of the most unpleasant things that I've ever had to deal with on the job. It sucks.
Yeah. And let's talk about why it's kids so often. These are heavy, dense vapors. They're near the ground. So Trey and I could have the exact same issue, like one of these cans burst. We're going to get it in the legs. It's going to hurt.
But you're
legs are gonna suck.
you're also seeing a lot of these incidents occur at campfires, backyard bonfires, and you're always going to have kids around at these
But
these
the
incidents.
kids are standing at the same height of our legs, and that's their upper respiratory.
Well,
So
you're really tall. It's not fair. Short people out there are also highly at risk. Short people and kids. Anybody's at risk.
If you're sitting down, it's at head height. Anybody that's in the head height of the vapor zone, those are the ones that get the worst injuries.
And these incidents can occur inside a garage for a fuel container that's not even being touched. This could just be somebody's working in the garage, the vapors have leaked out, there's a spark, it ignites, and then it flame jets inside there, and what might have been a small containable fire, or not a fire at all, just doing some work in the garage, welding, using a grinder, suddenly there's a flame jetting incident and your entire garage is now engulfed in flames. You're going to lose your garage and your house. These are dangerous incidents even when nobody is burned.
Right. It's a bad day when it's just the $1.5 billion of direct property damage. Please know my statistics aren't mine. I'm taking independent research from government agencies, and I know that those numbers are conservative. So they say $1.5 billion of direct property costs a year. Okay, bad day. I'm sorry you lost your garage. You know what's worse? Can we talk about when they have to skin you alive to save your life? That's a worse day. That's a way worse day. Burns are cruel. Preventable ones we should prevent. Like, that's the common sense. So our theme today is common sense is not that common, but you need a common sense mom and a common sense firefighter to say, damn it, it's time we stopped burning people alive. Barbecuing humans, bad. Bad, 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 bad.
All right. This is from the nation's capital outside of the Cannon, the Longworth, and the Rayburn building where you're Congress, you're members of Congress. And if you're watching this and you're a U.S. citizen, you're a member of Congress. There are offices in there, and these are the people that you need to talk to along with Nancy Pelosi in order to get this to a Senate, to get this to a floor vote now and not later.
And then one last thing I want to mention, because there's no reason to wait. We've got a Senate bill, the exact same thing. It's 1640. Get in touch with your senators. You know what? I believe we need to get Jerry Moran from Kansas. It's his committee. He's the guy that's on this bill. Also, Amy Klobuchar, presidential candidate from the good state of Minnesota. She is a sharp, no-nonsense woman. Please reach out to those two and ask them to help us move 1640 forward. So 1640, that's our Senate bill. 806, that's our House bill. They're the exact same thing. It's common sense. Portable fuel containers should not be allowed to be bombs.
Yes, 100%. All right. Signing off from the nation's capital.